Hello, everyone. We will be starting with the event right now. Thank you for everyone who has joined already, and there will be more people joining as we go. So I will briefly introduce the event, and then we will start with the content part. Once again, good evening, everyone who is already in the Netherlands or planning their relocation to the Netherlands. My name is Xenia, and I'm representing IN Amsterdam, whose logo you see on the right. It's International Newcomers Center in the Amsterdam area. And we help internationals with the official matters and information on settling in. Today's presentation is about finding a home, and it includes sessions on renting, buying, and setting up utilities in your home. Please keep your microphone muted throughout the event. You can put your questions in the chat. Please be active, and at the end of each presentation, we'll have some moments to address some of the questions. If those questions are not addressed during the event, you still are able to reach out to IN Amsterdam, or if you want to use any of the services of our presenters today, you can reach out to them directly. You will receive a follow-up email with links and contact details within a week, and we will allow you to fill a feedback form where you can share what other topics we can organize events on, and maybe just suggest a few other things that we could improve during our events. But for now, short introduction from IN Amsterdam. That's me starting now, and then we will go and listen to a presentation from Erica from Orange Homes. She will provide a short guide to renting in the Amsterdam area. The second important part of our presentation is about buying a house, and it has two components. One is about getting a mortgage, presented by Robin from Mr. Mortgage. And also Monique from MVA. She will be explaining the safest way to find a home. It's actually house hunting for a house to buy. The final part will be presented by Utility Direct, our partner, who will explain a little bit about setting up utilities for both houses you buy or rent and how it works in the Netherlands. So please listen carefully and enjoy our presentation. And if you ever in need of more general information about setting up in the Amsterdam area, you can always find it on our website or at our office, which is open for questions and inquiries from internationals who are planning to move or already in the Netherlands. We also have a list of service providers who are able to assist you in English, familiar with the needs of newcomers. You can check all sorts of industries, from legal advice to mortgage advice or brokers, tax advice, etc. And then, as I said, we provide loads more general advice, guides, and information, and you can find our services and projects on our website. You can email us, you can check our LinkedIn, or you can sign up for our newsletter. And now I will stop and invite Erica to start the first part of the presentation.
Well, hi everybody, I'm Erica Ackerman. I'm part of Orange Homes Relocation. So today I'm going to talk to you about renting in Amsterdam, in the Amsterdam area. Okay, Orange Homes Relocation. We started about 6 years ago to provide relocation services to expats, to companies relocating their employees to the Netherlands, and we cover pretty much all the usual relocation services that you would expect to find. But I'd say this year has probably been one of our busiest years ever, and I would say about 80% of our business now is on home finding, and that is helping our clients find a rental property in Amsterdam and in the Amsterdam area. So what we're going to talk about today is renting around in Amsterdam, like I said, and in some of the towns nearby as well, which, we would encourage expats to look also at Utrecht, Hilversum, Almere, Zaandam, Haarlem, Leiden. These are towns within a reasonable commuting distance of Amsterdam, and it's certainly areas you should consider. We're going to look at the types of rental property that you might see advertised. We're going to talk a little bit about tenant rights and rental contracts. We're going to talk again about how to actually apply for a rental property. And then we're going to cover some do's and don'ts. There's some smart ways of doing things. And then I also want to cover some of the things like don't do and things to be aware of. So the types of rental housing, essentially, you've got three types here. In the Netherlands, there is a fair amount of what we call social housing, and this is for people on lower incomes. It's not for most, well, it's not for, I think, any expats who are coming into the Netherlands, not least because there is a maximum household salary, and there's a fairly lengthy waiting list. So this one isn't for you. The next one we're going to look at are what we call housing corporation properties. And I'll explain those in a moment. It does have quite a lengthy registration process, but it is an option to be considered. And then we have what we call free market properties, which is where properties are rented at whatever the market rent is. And in Amsterdam, it is a very fierce, it's a very fast moving market. So housing corporations, what you need to think about are these. It's a company that has maybe hundreds of millions of euros in investment from other companies, other institutional investors like pension funds and insurance companies. So they then either build or they buy properties and they maintain them and rent them out on behalf of their investors. What they want are long-term rentals. So what they do then is they try to encourage tenants who are going to rent for more than just, say, 12 months. And to do that, they usually have rents that are below and lower than what you might see in what we're calling the free market. They can be very, very large landlords indeed. They have fairly strict criteria. So they might ask for something like 4 times the rent in your gross monthly income. We always recommend that when you're looking at your gross monthly income, make sure you are including everything. So here you might get 8% holiday pay within your income, or it might be paid in a lump sum at one time of the year. Have a look at it and see what other fixed allowances you also have, so that you've got the largest possible figure, to be honest, because you need rent's expensive here. Part of the criteria is going to involve you going onto a portal, and they want you to upload a lot of documents. There tends to be like a pre-approval process. So from the moment that you see one of these properties and then you apply for it, it can take many weeks, both for being pre-approved, maybe getting an appointment to view the property, if that's even an option, and then the decision being made in your favor. Because they want you to stay a long time in that property, they always encourage their tenants to invest in that property as well. So the condition that these properties are offered is sometimes what we call bald. So they can at times have no flooring, and sometimes they have no kitchen. So when you are considering a housing corporation property, you need to read the information on it carefully, because if there's no flooring, then either you have to buy that flooring from the current tenant, or you may be required to install that flooring yourself. So there is a cost up front, and you need to be aware of it. Now, the decision to actually award the property to a tenant invariably is done by lottery. So once you are pre-qualified and you've indicated that you'd like to be considered for it, it is actually a lottery as to who will get it. The next sector that we're looking at is what we're calling the free market, and that is where the rents vary wildly. So we're calling it free market, and these properties have they are of a certain quality. They're a certain size, they've been renovated, they're insulated, they'll have double glazing, for example. And there is a way of evaluating that status, and that way is by awarding points to it. So it has to reach a certain status before it can be offered to the free market. Otherwise, it has more controlled rent applied to it. In general, if you are looking to rent in the city of Amsterdam, for example, a one-bedroom apartment, you can expect to see them advertised for approximately 1650. That's 1,650. A two-bedroom apartment is anywhere from 2,000 euros upwards. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about this because you might think, well, that's doable. Unfortunately, because the market is so busy, what we're finding is that a lot of these properties are having a lot of offers on them, and the offers go over the asking price. So you may find that's a situation where you'll have to offer much more than 1650. I have a lot of experience in this area, and I'm seeing one-bedroom apartments being rented for closer to 1,800 euros. Two-bedroom apartments seem to be going for 300 to 400 euros more than that 2,000 euro figure. So do think about whether this is, what's going to be affordable for you. They are delivered in one of two conditions. So they're described as either being upholstered or furnished. And upholstered means it won't have furniture. It will have a floor. It may have curtains, but then again, it might not. It may have light fittings. It will have a kitchen. It will have a bathroom in there. Now, furnished is that can vary from being very simply furnished, for example, table and chairs in the eating area, a sofa, a bed, a closet in the bedroom, or it can go all the way up to having bed linens, cups, plates, saucepans, etc. in the kitchen. So really fully furnished. In general, you're going to see these free market properties advertised on two main websites, and that's Funda and Pararius. Now, there's a lot of other property rental websites out there, but do be careful when you're looking through those, that some of them will require you to pay a fee for either enhanced access, or maybe it's a fee to contact the landlord. Before you start paying regular subscriptions to those websites, check the address, see if maybe that property is advertised on Funda and Pararius, because there are no fees on those websites for you to actually contact the agents or the landlords on that. So those are the two main websites there. If you're thinking about sharing, then be aware that in Amsterdam, only 2 sharers are allowed per apartment, unless the landlord has a license to actually allow tenants, more tenants than 2 people, to register at that property. So if we then have a look at tenant rights and the kinds of rental contracts that you're going to come across, the main thing is landlords are concerned that you can actually afford the rent, because it's quite hard to actually evict you from a property. So when you're looking at these rents, what they're thinking is 3 times that rent in the gross monthly income. So for example, if you rent something at 2,000 euros a month, they want to see that what you're earning is 6,000 euros a month. So you do need to look very carefully and consider all of your outgoings. Is this going to be affordable for you? The types of contracts that you're going to see here are, broadly speaking, 3 types. The first one is a Model A contract, and that is where your first 12 months of the rental contract are fixed. You can't break that contract unless you've negotiated a special break clause. After the 12 months, you can give 1 calendar month's notice to break that contract. The contract is at that point indefinite. We currently have what we call a Model B contract. That's for a fixed period of 24 months. You can give 1 calendar month's notice from the start of the contract. There is also a Model C contract. It's only occasionally used. It's really for when you have an owner of a property going overseas, for example, for maybe 7 or 8 months, and they want to rent their property out for a fixed period. However, be aware that from 2024, there's going to be no more Model B. So you'll just have the 12-month fix, the Model A contract available, and on occasion, when it's needed, the Model C contract. So applying for a property. Amsterdam and the surrounding areas are very, very busy, and you're going to see a lot of inquiries for every property listed. Within Amsterdam, these are going to go very, very quickly. Most times, a realtor is going to ask you to apply online with a brief outline of your personal situation. Don't bother even trying to phone them. You'll spend a lot of time waiting for that call to be picked up. They'll just tell you to send an email if you do actually get through to them. When you do apply to view a property, tell them whether it's just you, whether you're going with a partner, whether you're hoping to share, whether it's you plus a family, and also tell them your salary so that they know already that you can actually afford the property. So you have a bit more time outside Amsterdam. It doesn't really fill up quite as quickly as that, but Haarlem is also quite busy at the moment. But do have a look around Amsterdam and consider the travel times to see if it might work for you. So when you actually do get a viewing, look at the property carefully, because this is how it will be delivered. Is it big enough for you? Is it light enough for you? Ask the agent who is there what furniture is included. What are there going to be any changes to the property? You also need to check, and this is important, what the deadline is for actually sending in an offer. If it's really soon, for example, if you see a property in the morning and the deadline is in the afternoon, you need to know that, because you need to leave that viewing and start working on your offer that you're going to send in. So those are also on that slide, some of the questions that you can ask. You need to send in a fair amount of information. Some agents specify what they want from you, some will direct you to a portal, and some just want an email from you saying what it is that you want to offer. Nowadays, we're seeing a lot of letters of introduction, so see if you can put one together, put in a nice photo of yourselves, describe who you are a little bit so that they know what kind of person you are. If when you're at the viewing, you see that it's really busy, you may have to think about offering more than the asking price if it's an apartment that you really, really want. But always think, whatever it is that you offer, make sure that you have 3 times that amount in your gross monthly income. Now, sometimes when you see a listing, it seems really cheap. You might see a 1-bedroom property at €1,000. Maybe you've looked on a Facebook group. Maybe you've looked at some other website. Be careful. If it's too cheap, then it is too cheap. It's as simple as that. Do your research. Know what a property should cost in that area, for that size, in that condition. Otherwise, you may find you're going to be become the target of a scam. So, some of my do's and don'ts when you're looking to rent a property. Don't forget your costs and your extra costs. When you are starting a rental contract after the 15th of the month, the rent is usually prorated for that period. So I'll give you an example. If your rental contract starts on the 17th of November, the rent will be prorated from the 17th to the 30th of November, but you'll still then be asked to pay the first month's rent, which is December. You'll also be asked to pay 2 months' rent in general as a security deposit. So your worst case scenario could be to be paying close to 3.5 months' rent in advance to start the rental contract. Please consider that, because by the time you have had an offer accepted by a landlord, it's too late to then pull back and say, oh, it's too expensive. Once it's accepted, then you are legally bound and they have the right to fine you 1 month's rent. So be cautious, do the numbers, do the research. Utilities and internet, of course, that's nearly always on top. And you're also going to have to pay city taxes, which vary from city to city. In Amsterdam, for a single person, you're going to be paying about 450 euros per year. If you are asked by any landlord's agent to pay any contract fees or any of these fees that I've listed on this slide, then just check, just ask why you're paying them. If you're not sure, have a look on this website, wooninfo.nl. This is an organization that has a very useful website on providing information and advice to tenants. It's funded by the municipality, and they have a lot of helpful information on the sorts of things that you should look out for when negotiating, the rental of an apartment. Check your rental contract carefully. Make sure it does say something in there about requiring you to register at the municipality. You need to be sure that this is something that you can do. It's a legal requirement. Don't assume that a pet will be allowed. If you have a dog or a cat or whatever, make sure that you've actually got permission for it in the rental contract. Make sure as well that before you make that first payment, you've actually got a signed agreement. Now, sometimes when you are being targeted for a scam, an agent will ask to meet you somewhere other than the actual apartment, and they will try to talk you into making a payment before they can hand over the keys, and then you have to find the keys from someone else that you're meeting. If you've not seen the property yourself, if you're not dealing with a legitimate rental agent, be very cautious. Also check, if you're renting direct from an owner, make sure that you know that they actually own the property. So when you actually get through all of that, you've got a signed contract, you've made your first payment, you then have a check-in actually at the property where the landlord or the landlord's agent is going to note the condition of the property at the start of the rental contract. It's really, really important. Make sure that they note everything down, every mark, every scratch. Make sure that plenty of photos are taken, because this is what they're going to use when they actually do the checkout when you leave the property. You need to be able to say, hey, this is how this looked when I moved in. This isn't something that I did. So those are some basic do's and don'ts, a few things that I have highlighted there that I hope will help you with the move that you're going to make to Amsterdam. And I hope that we get to see you a little bit later on in this year or next year.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for hosting us as always, Senja. Nice to have everybody join the call as well. So I'm here to discuss something about mortgages, obviously, and more specifically how to get a Dutch mortgage. And I'll tell you something about that. And as before as well, if you have any questions, by all means, let me know for the Q&A after this presentation. So let's get into it. So this is the team. Now, recently we had some additions, so we have a bit of a larger team now. This is very nice. I'm the second one from the left, which you might recognize when you take off a couple of years and add a beard, then you see the guy in the screen there as well. And I'm joined by my lovely team as always, and we're very happy to help you guys out in whatever you need when it comes to mortgages, really. So whether it is the first house that you're looking out for to buy, so when you moved here, you first found the property together with Erika, for instance, and then you consider, well, maybe buying is an option as well. Then we're very happy to help you out there. Now, also, when you already have a property and you want to buy your second one or third or fourth or fifth, or maybe you want to do something else, maybe you do want to do some renovation of the properties, for instance, or the situation is, let's see, it's right here. So, or you want to have a buy-to-let mortgage. This means that you want to invest in real estate in the Netherlands. Now, you might know that there might be that there are a couple of things to consider when you want to invest in real estate. And also when something else happens in your life, when something changes. So, for instance, if you meet a situation of a divorce, we can also help you out with the financial mortgage side of things, but also the other side, of course, when you already have a property and there's a partner adding to you and will also be on the mortgage or in the house. Any of these situations, we're happy to help you out and let you exactly know what your options are. Now, what we do We are an expat mortgage broker in the Netherlands, obviously. Now, what that means is that we help expats and internationals finding their way in the Netherlands to secure their housing needs, most specifically when it comes to mortgages. We work with over 30 banks in the Netherlands, pretty much all of them, and we're independent from all of these banks and lenders. So we don't have to meet any quotas, so we can really have the sole focus on you to find the best interest rate. Because it can be a bit of a maze out there, but if you know your way around, it doesn't have to be as daunting as it might seem at first. Now, of course, if you need to sign any documents for the bank when we apply for a mortgage, all these documents and contracts will be in Dutch. Now, we'll obviously supply with translations, so you know what you're signing and you know what you're getting yourself into, of course. Now, and then lastly, we have a bit of a special position with mortgage lenders. What that means is we're an expertise advisory firm when it comes to expats and internationals. Some banks have some peculiar conditions when it comes to people from outside of the EU, for instance. And we are able to secure mortgages with that as well, because the banks know that we know our way around and they know that we know our clients. Now, that all being said, let me dive into a bit more specifically what it is to have a mortgage in the Netherlands and how to get there. So one of the top asked questions we get is, and it's very fair, is it a good time to buy a home? Couple of reasons why this question is asked. Last year we saw that the interest rates increased, and some stories are still out there that they might increase even more. Now, let me nip that in the bud. So the expectation is now actually that we see a slight decrease in the interest rates. So every now and again you see a slight spike. There's a funny reason for that, because most of the time that banks increase their interest rates in the Netherlands is, let's say, around the end of the year. So December, some banks do that, and around the summer holiday season. The reason why is more of the employees of banks go on holiday. So therefore the banks, they increase their interest rate a bit. So they kind of put a brake on, so they on the new mortgage applications, and therefore they create some time for their employees. So that's something that very often happens very often. Now, actually, we see a slight decrease of the interest rates over time. Also, when it comes to values of property, there is not necessarily a significant decrease happening. We kind of see it leveling out, especially in the larger cities, and the expectation is that it will increase a bit more and more. And Monique, the real estate agent that will speak later, might be able to tell you a bit more about the values. That's her specialty there. Now, all this being said, we see a massive demand in housing in the Netherlands, and not necessarily a supply that can keep up. So that's kind of what we can see in the market happening now. So all that being said, is it a good time to buy a house? It's a bit lame, but yes, I mean, it kind of depends on your personal situation, of course. But overall, yes, it's as good a time as any to buy a property now, when we expect the values to increase a bit and interest rates to decrease ever so slightly. There won't be a sudden drop. Now, does this mean for everybody that's a good time to buy a house? Not necessarily. Make sure that it fits your specific preferences and situation the best. So you can do online calculations to see what your mortgage capacity is. Don't focus only on what you can get as a maximum, but focus on what you feel comfortable with in spending per month. Right, and then you might say, okay, sure, if I want to spend an X amount per month, what mortgage does it get me? And is that the house that I want to buy? Is that the case? Then by all means, dive into it, but also consider how long you want to stay in the property, for instance. So there's a couple of things to consider there. Let me walk you through that. A couple of reasons to buy. Now, when you compare it to a rental property, when you have a rental payment, that's money down the drain, basically. No, not all of it, because you do have living situation there, but you don't get anything back, and that's different when it comes to your mortgage. Because from your mortgage, you pay interest, of course, and you repay your mortgage. So slowly you repay your mortgage back. So let's say you start with a mortgage of 400,000 euros, and a couple of years down the line, you repaid something. So that's equity. And that is the second bit. Mortgage payments equal equity. And equity means the difference between the mortgage debt that you have and the value of the property. So when you sell the property, you get the difference on your bank account. There's no capital gains tax, so all the profit is yours there, really. So that's building up equity, and property value, therefore, is pretty similar to wealth. Assets So you build up more savings and assets that you can use later on. So that can be reasons to buy. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to, of course, but it is good to keep in mind that that's the comparison right there. Now, when you consider a couple of other aspects when renting versus buying, when you consider stability. Now, renting is a very nice thing when you look for a bit more of a short term. You have a bit more flexibility relatively, because basically you have a 1 month term to say, okay, this is it. Now I want to move somewhere else. And when you buy, you have a bit more long-term stability, right? Because your monthly payments, you'll know what they are for the next 5 or 10 years. So that's very nice. You have stability in that sense. So, and it's more customizable. Anything that you do to the property, it's your property. So if you change the kitchen, it's your kitchen. So if you sell it, then you get that investment back. And when it comes to security, now with the rental prices, well, they fluctuate. They can increase year over year. And that's the difference with having a mortgage, because there you lock in your interest rate. You know what your monthly payments are for the longer term. And you build up wealth, as mentioned before. So long-term, buying a house usually makes a bit more sense, but shorter term and more flexibility is with renting. So if you compare the two, we put it into numbers. So monthly payment, let's say you compare the two of 1,900 euros per month. Now, when you look at 4 years rental payments, then you've spent 91,200 euros. Well, that seems like a lot, which it is, obviously. And on the other side, when you buy a property, it is pretty similar, but what you then can compare is you can consider the building up of wealth. And this means after 4 years, the repayment that you did on your mortgage is almost 30,000 euros. So in 4 years, basically, you saved up 30,000 euros. And we consider the interest that you've paid over that 4 years, that's about 60,000 euros. So that's where you can see the difference. Now, what it is good to keep in mind is that when you buy a property, there are also additional fees that you have to consider. So you always have to do a part of an investment, a bit of an investment to buy a property. And then, of course, it's a trick to find out when that moment is that it starts making more sense to buy than to rent right now. And next slide is right there. I'll get to the total input of your savings that you need when buying a house. Now, let's first focus on some unique benefits when buying a property in the Netherlands and take on a Dutch mortgage. One thing which is very nice is the 100% LTV and 100% LTI. Now, it sounds a bit weird when you put it like this, but what it means, LTV is loan to value. So basically what this means, you can get up to 100% mortgage based on the value of the property. So when the value of the property is 400,000 euros and your income allows you to get a mortgage for 400,000 euros, that's it, what you can get. Not a down payment is not necessary always. Interest rates are tax deductible. That's a very nice thing. So part of the interest rate that you pay per month is tax deductible. So you get a tax benefit from the tax authorities, obviously. And you can choose if you want to have that per year or per month. When you look at the 1,900 euros example that we just had, the tax benefit can easily be around 400 or 500 euros per month. So that means that every month you do pay 1,900 euros to the bank. But if you wanted to have the monthly tax benefit around the 15th of the month, the tax authorities will transfer, let's say, 400 euros back to your bank account, which is very nice. And that is then a net payment per month of around 1,500 euros, including this tax benefit. So it's very nice to have that as well. You can also choose to have that per year, and then you get a lump sum total payment around June, July from the tax authorities on your bank account. Then all of this, by the way, it all depends, of course, on your personal situation. So if you have any specific questions about your personal situation, feel free to schedule a call later on. And with general questions, you can ask them with the Q&A. NHG mortgage. Now, NHG, that is kind of an insurance arrangement. Basically, what it means, in short, you buy a house for 400,000 euros. Let's say everything is going well. You have a nice job. Everything goes good, goes well, and you pay your mortgage every month. And then disaster strikes. You lose your job. For instance, if you get disabled or the company is not doing so well anymore, so they have to let you go. If that happens, you might struggle with your monthly payments. First off, NHG will help you communicating with the bank to keep having you have you keep the mortgage. That's the thing. If that's not possible, so if you can really not afford the mortgage anymore, you might have to sell the property. Now, and this is where it's kind of a doomsday insurance. If the property value is lower than your outstanding mortgage, so let's say the remaining mortgage that you have is 380,000 euros, but the value of a property has dropped to 350, you have 30,000 euros remaining debt, but you also lost your job and you cannot afford your mortgage anymore. So that's what you have. So you don't have a job, you don't have a house, and you have a 30,000 euros remaining debt. And this is where NHG steps in and they will pay that for you. Now, there's a limit this year, up to 405,000 euros. You can still apply for an NHG mortgage, and over that, not yet. Next year, that will increase, luckily, to 435. Again, these numbers, you can forget about that. I will explain everything about that during a call later on. But this is basically one of the advantages you have in the Netherlands as well. I mentioned it's kind of a doomsday insurance, which is not expected. With NHG, get a lower interest rate. Can be very interesting. Just keep it in mind, it's 435 maximum purchase price next year. Then the tax return on the mortgage closing fees, all the fees that you pay when securing a mortgage, including the fees for your financial advisor and the appraiser, are tax deductible. So you get a tax back also about that. So the Dutch government really wants to help you buy a house and also get financial advice in that as well. And then there's another nifty thing, and that's no transfer tax. Let me first explain what transfer tax is. When you buy a house, you pay 2% transfer tax. That's 2% of the purchase price you have to pay to the tax authorities. But there's an exemption there. If you're under 35 and you haven't used this consideration yet, then you don't have to pay transfer tax if you buy a house for up to 510,000 euros next year. This year it's still 440. Next year, that will increase to 510,000 euros. And here's an example. So let's say you buy a house for 435,000 euros. The transfer tax usually is 8,700 euros. Now, when you're under 35, then you don't have to pay that 8,700 euros. And the total fees when buying a home are then about approximately 12,500 euros. If you're over 35, then this 8,700 euros is included, and the closing fees are approximately 20,000 euros. Of course, depending on whom you're working with, all of that, but this is a rough estimate right there. Now, of this fees, you do get a tax refund of about 2,000 euros as well. So that's very nice, of course. So if you're under 35 and you buy a house this year up to 440,000 euros, or next year up to 510, you don't have to pay the 2% transfer tax. So that's basically it right there. Now, how much savings do you need? That's what I was promising to tell you before as well. Now, when you buy an existing home and the purchase price is 435,000 euros, the salary that you need combined is 88,500 euros, give or take. What I mean by combined is also when you buy a house together, then your joint income has to be 88,500 euros. Now, of course, again, if you want to have your personal calculations done, let us know. Then, as stated before in the previous slide as well, if you're under 35, then the closing fees are about 12,500 euros. If you're over 35, that's about 20,500 euros. This consists of your real estate agent, the appraiser, the notary, Mr. Mortgage, and depending on your situation, the transfer tax. Now, when you buy new builds, that's also possible, of course. Then it is still a project that has to be built. And then basically the costs are a bit different because usually you don't need a real estate agent. Also, there's no transfer tax because the transfer tax is when you buy a house from somebody else. And when it's newly built, it's never been owned by somebody else. So no transfer tax, which is very nice, of course. You do have to go to the notary and you do need somebody to help you with the mortgage. But that means that the total fees that you have are about, let's say, 4,300 euros. Salary that you require is exactly the same, of course, because it's the same mortgage. But then the closing fees are significantly lower. And the quality of the house, it's brand new, of course, and you can decide yourself sometimes you can decide where you want to have the walls or how you want to have the power sockets located. So you can really manage to say, okay, sure, I want my bed right here and on both sides from power sockets, which sometimes lacks in other properties and they have to put it in yourself. So those are nifty little things that can be very interesting when buying new build. truth be told, you do have to wait until the property is done, of course. So there's some time that you have to wait until you can actually move in. And then your mortgage does already pay and gradually increase. The monthly payments gradually get to the final number. But that is can be interesting to consider as well. Now, how does it work? What is the process basically? Let's say you start right now in November. First, most important thing to start with is check your mortgage eligibility. Not only what you can get, but most importantly, what do you feel comfortable with in your monthly payment? So think about that. Maybe compare it to what you currently pay as rent. Is that something that you're comfortable with? Don't overstretch yourself too much, because after 3-4 months and you've paid too high of a mortgage that you feel really comfortable with, and then you experience, well, hey, I cannot go on holiday or for a nice dinner anymore. Consider before you get into this process what you're willing to spend on this. And then determine your strategy. So check in with a real estate agent with this as well. And what I mean by determine your strategy, where do you want to buy, what location, what kind of savings do you want to input, all of that. Do that and then really dive into the housing market. Connect with the real estate agent. When your offer got accepted, an appraiser will check the property to make sure that what the final value is. Your real estate agent will help you find the property, get the offer accepted, and then it's back to us. We'll secure your mortgage. Throughout this whole process, we will guide you through that as well, because each property can be different, right? So every property has different specifications, and that means that every mortgage will be different for each and every property. So always be sure to check in to know exactly what your options are and what your range would be. Now, when your offer is accepted, happy days. Again, we'll take care of your mortgage application. You don't have to go to the bank. We'll take care of all the paperwork, etc., to make sure that everything is done as soon as possible. Then you can go to the notary, depending on what you determine as your transfer date, of course. Then you can go to the notary to receive the keys of your new house, and you're the proud new owner of your new property. So that's, in a nutshell, how it works. Now, of course, throughout the whole process, there's a little bit of extra steps in between, but this is the basic thing. Check your finances, check in with a real estate agent, go into the housing market, and every time that you find a property, check in with us. We'll revise the calculations, put in an offer is accepted, mortgage, and then go to the notary to receive your keys. All of it can be done in about 2-3 months. But you have to strike a bit lucky, of course, with the offer being accepted as well. Now, what's next? Yeah, well, really, the first next step is to understand your finances. So feel free to check in with us and schedule a free call and discover your mortgage capacity. There's a QR code you can scan right there, or you can always go to mrmortgage.nl, and we're always available to share our information. We believe that it's important that you know what the situation is before you really dive into this. So always the basic introductory calls are always free of charge or any obligation.
Well, good evening. Also welcome on my behalf, and I will take care of the finding a home to buy part in this online event. I will explain in short how the buying process works and how we, as the MVA certified expat brokers, can help you. We are happy to answer any questions that you have at the end of the presentation, and in the chat we will share our contact details. Well, my name is Monique Verhoef of MV Aankoopmakelaars en Taxateurs. Aankoopmakelaars means buying agent, purchase broker. So as the name suggests, we only deal with assisting in buying houses in the greater Amsterdam area. I do this together with my colleague Brigitte, a small team to keep the contact with the customers engaged and personal. Most estate agents do all, buying, selling, and renting, but we have chosen to specialize. Furthermore, I can tell that I live in Amsterdam. I've been in real estate for almost 25 years, and since 2004, I'm a certified real estate agent appraiser. Well, the MVA stands for Makelaarsvereniging Amsterdam. and we are one of the 27 regional branches of the MVM. Our branch represents around 600 brokers in the Greater Amsterdam Area. It's the largest regional association of the MVM, and the MVM is the national and the MVA is regional. The MVM, and therefore the MVA badge, is a guarantee for quality and reliable services. By choosing an MVM, an agency with the MVA certified expert broker logo, we are assured that you're working with a permanent, educated, a qualified, and a reliable real estate agent. Our members can help you to find the perfect home for you. The MVA, as you might know, the title makelaar is no longer protected since 2001. Over the years, we've unfortunately come across malpractices, and we've seen clients who were scammed by makelaars who are not a member of our organization. Especially in a booming market, there were quite a few makelaars who want to earn money quickly. These makelaars are often not educated and qualified for the work that they're doing, and they are likely to charge false costs and provide you with incorrect information. And therefore, in 2015, the MVA founded the MVA Certified Expert Broker label. This label helps you as a newcomer to our country to select a broker who can help you in finding your future home. We are the only certified organization in the Netherlands that focuses on housing internationals in our country. Besides that, we are also a partner of IN Amsterdam, the Hague International Center, and the International Welcome Center Utrecht region. Well, today's content. In this presentation, I would like to explain to you the steps involved in the process of buying a house in the Netherlands. But before we do, we will explain how we can help you in finding your new home. Netherlands brokers are by law only allowed to act on behalf of the buyer or the seller. So if you view a property and you will meet a broker, this broker represents the interest of the owners of the property. So he or she is only looking for their interest. Since you're new to this country, we strongly advise you to hire your own broker who looks after your interest when you're buying a property. By the way, this is not mandatory, but your buying agent can help you with finding your property, negotiations, give professional advice on technical and legal matters, knows how the Dutch property market works, and because of her experience, she's familiar with the local problems involved in certain properties and neighborhoods. And most important, the buying agent knows the value of the property. She knows, he or she knows the market value, and this can be above asking price, but also frequently below the asking price. I often get the question, what percentage should I take into account with the overbidding? Is it 10%? Well, I cannot give one answer to this. It depends entirely on the strategy of the sales agent has used. Since we work in this market every day, we do see which offices use different strategies. For example, there are agencies that always use a too low asking price. So ask your buying agent, she can indicate the market value before the viewing, because there is no point at looking at houses which will be sold way above your budget. Well, it all starts with finding the right MVA certified expert broker logo, expert broker. Where to find the perfect match? During an intake, your certified expert broker will go through your wishes and discuss what type of property meets your requirements best. For example, an apartment, a penthouse, or a family home, on what floor, how many bedrooms and square meters. Also, the location will be discussed. And do you like a lively neighborhood, or do you prefer to live in a green, quiet area? Other specifications such as presence of a second bathroom, close to the international school, parking space, price range, etc., etc. Of course, the broker can also help you with suggestions you might not even have thought about yourself at first. She knows what's available. As a result, the broker will have a search profile that she can work with. And most importantly, the buying agent can help you to start with a realistic search profile. What's doable with the budget you want to spend for your new home? Our brokers are listed on our website, and this QR code will bring you straight to this list. And we advise you to plan an appointment with 2 or 3 different brokers so you can decide who's the right choice to work with. In the end, it's about who's the best personal fit for you. In the Netherlands, you work on an exclusive base with your certified expat broker. I know that, for example, in Spain, it's quite common to work with 3 or 4 different brokers. Well, in the Netherlands, it's only 1. All new properties are listed real-time in an exclusive database that the MVA members, the aankoopmakelaars, work with. Only every MVA member has access to this exclusive database. You will be notified by your broker about new properties that match your search profile before they are even shown on Funda or other websites. This gives you a timing advantage and saves you a lot of time to monitor all different websites. Although for some people, browsing housing websites is a new hobby. In the Netherlands, we call them the Funda addicts. Most people need a mortgage to buy a house. Before starting the house hunt, it's important to plan an appointment with a mortgage advisor. So you know that what your budget is and what your monthly cost will be. But as you already heard of Robin, of Mr. Mortgage, he can help you with this. Please note that some mortgage advisors offer their help in purchasing a property by negotiating on your behalf. Be aware that mortgage advisors are not brokers, appraisers. Exploring the area, view properties is an important step in addition to what I explained to you before. We strongly advise you to investigate the area you would like to move to, especially if it's a new area for you. Drive, or better yet, cycle through the various neighborhoods at night when it's dark, in the weekends, to check out whether you feel safe and comfortable, whether it's too busy or too quiet. And of course, your buying agent, being the local expert, is able to advise you on this, which area meets your needs and wishes. In the Netherlands, a buyer has a duty to investigate. This is an important point which is stated in the deed of sale at Article 6. So the buyer has to investigate the actual situation and the public registers, including the public law restrictions. What this means in general, that you know 100% what you're buying. So and that also means that, for example, even if you buy an upstairs apartment, it's important to know what the condition of the basement is. Is there any moisture? Because as soon as you buy a property, then you become a member of the association, and you are also financially, it's your financially responsibility that this is also covered, that there isn't any moisture there, or as soon as it should be taken to get rid of it. And if there is, and also it's also important that you know are there any additional agreements in the owners association besides the subdivision deed? And for example, what's their position on short stay? Once you engage a buying agent, then she will take over this duty. She's certified, is the certified and local expert, and she makes sure that everything is investigated and clarified to you. Therefore, your certified expert broker will take a close look at the property you're interested in buying. She will check, among other things, the technical condition, legal requirements, and environmental issues. Also, when buying an apartment, a solid financial situation of the homeowners association, or VVE, is essential, especially when you're financing with a mortgage. The negotiation skills and expertise of the certified expert broker are crucial to make a successful deal. He or she will negotiate on your behalf, and not only the price is important, but other terms and conditions are too, such as a mortgage clause, the date of transfer, technical inspections. All this together makes or breaks the deal with the seller. But once the deal is closed, verbally, it's important to finalize the deal in writing. As in most cases, the seller is not bound to the verbal deal until it's put in written. This process consists of a few general steps. Well, first of all, signing the purchase contract in Amsterdam, the deed of sale is signed at the notary's office. Outside of Amsterdam, the selling broker will do that. It's drawn up by the selling broker. Either way, your certified expert broker will check the contract, and he will advise you before you sign. Please note that a verbal agreement between a private seller and a private buyer is not legally binding. It's only binding when both parties have signed the purchase contract. Well, from the moment you sign the purchase contract, the terms of the dissolving clause come into effect, such as the 3-day cooling off period and the term of organization, the mortgage. This term varies, but it's roughly takes about, well, 4 weeks, but Robin can help you with that. If you agreed on a technical inspection to be carried out, this is usually done before we sign the purchase contract. It's also possible to put it in a later stage, like during in the period of the cooling off period, or it can be mentioned as a dissolving clause in the contract. Well, the dates in the dates mentioned in the purchase contract are very important dates. In case you need to dissolve the contract, this is therefore closely guarded by your certified expert broker. When you require a mortgage, an appraisal report is required. This report needs to be an approved report drawn up by an appraiser, a so-called taxateur. Either your mortgage advisor or your broker can help you to organize this. Well, the transfer of the ownership takes place on an agreed date with the seller. Usually it's set around 3 or 4 months after signing the purchase contract. Before signing the deed of delivery at the notary, you and your certified expert broker make a final inspection. First you do the inspection at the house, and then you go straight to the notary to sign the delivery deed. In case there is anything at the inspection, such as a leakage, then your certified expert broker will know what to do and advise you how to proceed. Well, and then it's time for the working together with a certified expert broker saves you time, stress, and money, so you can use your energy to focus on setting and meeting new friends. Once you have moved into your new home, it's time to organize a so-called gezellige housewarming.
Yeah. Thank you. There's one more
Thank you.
question in the chat, if you can answer that while we're introducing Jesse and Thomas, who are from Utility Direct, and who will explain what's important to arrange once you're moving into your new home. So Jesse, Thomas, hello. You've been waiting for a long time, so the floor is yours. The presentation is ready, and it's really important to know these things, because I think this is like after this big thing, there are all these small things that you need to arrange. So
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the introduction, and we are very happy to host the final part of this online housing event. We from Utility Direct understand that moving to a new country can be both exciting, of course, but also very challenging. And at Utility Direct, we're here to ensure that your transition is as smooth and stress-free as possible. We are the only independent relocation platform aimed at completely unburdening customers, specifically expats, during a relocation to or within the Netherlands. We have a team. Our team is a little bit bigger than this, but this is just the board. My name is Thomas van Leeuwen. I'm in charge of the finance and the marketing. My partner, Jesse, is in charge of the IT and the human resource. And we have Max, who's in charge of all the operations management. We cover all the services from insurance, furniture rental, bank account to international moving, and most importantly, setting up all the household utilities, because of course you want to sit warm in the winter and keep the lights on. All the services that we offer are free of charge. We have an international support team dedicated to English support. We have personal contact. We're available 5 days a week, and our support is 24/7. And we make a simple dashboard available where you can see all your contracts in one simple overview. Here's a brief overview of the services. Most important is a Dutch bank account to start with. After that, of course, the utilities, electricity, gas, the mobile phone, SIM only is the one we cover. Moving, we cover about 96 countries, so pretty much almost the whole world we can do international moving. Also internet and TV, we have the best deals available. We cover furniture rental for short and long-term rentals, and also insurances and water. There's some more services to come, so we will let you know about that later on. Now,
Yes.
checklist, Jesse will take over.
Yes, thank you, Thomas. So yeah, before going to the Netherlands, there's always a checklist that you need to be aware of. So once you have the house sorted out with the previous people here in the meeting, then it's time to set up your utilities. So once you have signed the contract, there's a quick checklist on what you need next. So of course, it's very important to have working electricity and gas in your house. There's 3 types of contracts for this. And I will explain it a little bit more. Internet, we have one of the best internet in the world here in Europe, and water is government regulated. And I will start now with electricity and gas. There's 3 types of contracts: dynamic contracts, variable contract, and a fixed contract. Well, the variable and dynamic are pretty close. It means dynamic means that whenever the price is it really depends on the time. So if everybody is using electricity on 5 o'clock, it's going to be more expensive than when no one is using it at 3 o'clock at night. So if you time your to those times, you can save a little bit of money there. And variable means it's a variable contract. It's cancelable every month, and it also is affected by the current price. So if the price is going up with variable, your price will go up as well. If it's going down, it will go down as well. And fixed means you can set the tariffs of, for instance, today for a whole year. So you, especially in turmoil times like this with wars going on, and it's a very volatile market at the moment, prices keep going up, down, it is best to secure yourself with fixed contracts. It's a very unique situation we're in now with the whole world going on. So if you are planning to go into Netherlands soon, my strongest recommendation is going for a fixed contract. Why? Because you will have the price of today before something crazy happens and the price will go up again. You will have these prices. Then how does it work with these electricity and gas contracts? Well, they're making an assumption of your yearly usage. So let's say you are a one-person household. We can make an assumption on how much you're going to use for 1 year. And then, for instance, an apartment or in a house or in a corner building. So based on this information, we can make pretty accurate calculations. But after a year, the provider is going to look at your actual consumption. If it was more than estimated, you have to pay extra to the provider. If it is less, you get your money back. So we do have a fair system here in the Netherlands. It's also advised to don't take contract for too long, because every time you go to a new provider and switch, you get like a little welcome discount. And especially in the market right now, do not get a contract for too long, because prices are higher than normal, very volatile. And if you set yourself up for a 3-4 year contract, it might not be beneficial, because maybe next year the price will be lower and a little bit more normal than the previous years. Also, what's important to know that you will always have working electricity and gas in your house. You will never be without. Same with water. However, if you do not set up a contract within 1 to 2 months, they will close you off. So the network operator is always providing you with electricity, gas, water. If you do not close it off soon enough, you get a letter by them saying, hey, we see you don't have an active contract. Please get one as soon as possible. After 2 or 3 letters, you get a final one saying, if you do not set an electricity or gas contract by 2 or 3 days in the future, we will close you off. So do not let that happen. Make sure you set it up as soon as possible. And also for the days you don't have a contract, you get a separate bill by this network operator, which is going to be more expensive than your from a provider. So it's beneficial to, as soon as you know the start date, just get a contract straight away. And then there's another thing as well. If your house happens to have solar panels, you will probably produce a lot of electricity yourself. This will also be in calculation, same way as they calculate the yearly calculation of electricity and gas. They also do it with solar panels. So if it's a very sunny year, you of course will get more power out of the solar panels. If it's a very cloudy year, you will get less. This will also be done in the calculations. And if you deliver more, if you produce more energy than you actually use, you can sell some of it back to the net. So there's different providers that have different tariffs for how much they will buy your electricity. So also keep aware, if you have a lot of solar panels, it's not only good to look at the current price of them, but also the price on which they buy the electricity from you. For a one-person household, you can expect about 130 to 150 euros for an energy contract in this current market. And for a two-person household, about 170 to 190. This is if you live in an apartment. All right, then the next step is the internet and the TV. There's 3 types of options here. We have the coax cable, which is basically a monopoly by Ziggo. They are especially very big in Amsterdam. So if you are going to move to Amsterdam, chances are you will use Ziggo because they have the highest speed, and the other providers use VDSL. VDSL is pretty slow and can only have speeds up to 100 to 200 megabits. So if you want a faster provider, it's probably going to be Ziggo. But in newly built areas in Amsterdam, we also have a lot of fiber optics, and slowly we see it come to other networks as well. Fiber optics is the fastest internet, and if it's available, we recommend you take it. If not, then Ziggo is probably your best bet. In terms of speed here in the Netherlands, we are one of the top 5 highest speeds in terms of internet and best internet connection of whole of Europe. And it's a very competitive market, so there's multiple providers to choose from. You usually get a 1-year contract, but it's also beneficial to switch every year because they give a lot of welcome discount. For instance, Ziggo offers at this time 12 months of welcome discount for the whole year, but after that year, you will get the full price. But if you switch to, let's say, someone else, they can offer you the additional 10, 8, 6 months welcome discount again. If you keep switching smart between those providers, you get the best price all the time. Next slide. Then there's always also mobile. So a lot of providers, for instance, Ziggo, what I just mentioned, works together with Vodafone, which is an international provider. They have merged to Vodafone Ziggo. The same with KPN or Odido. These providers also offer mobile subscriptions. If you combine these subscriptions with your internet, you actually get a discount on the mobile subscription. It can be up to €7.50. You can also get double the data. So it's pretty nice if you consider taking that together. So you get like additional benefits, and some people don't know this. This is good to know. Yeah, next slide. Then there's water, which is the last option. Water is government regulated, so there's only one provider per region. In Amsterdam, this is Waternet. It's very strict. We have actually very good quality water here compared to other European cities. I think it's also one of the best waters in Europe. You can drink it freely out the tap. It's actually better quality, and there are stricter rules than most food and beverage companies. It's also better quality than the water you buy in the bottles. So it's very safe to just drink the water here and use it for day-to-day usage. Yeah. And then the last thing, like mentioned before, if you do not have a European bank account, it is very much advised and necessary to have a Dutch bank account. There's multiple banks that set this up for you, but you often need a BSN appointment to be eligible for a Dutch bank account. There's only one bank account that doesn't need this. This is the Bankbank. We also help set this up. They're very easy with it. You can just set up without a BSN number, or there's ABN AMRO. If you have an appointment in the future, you can already get your bank account through them. And then once you have, you just show the proof of that you're going to live there, and also the proof that you have the BSN appointment. And then they give you a Dutch bank account, because you do need a Dutch bank account if you do not have a European one to set up all these utilities, pay for everything. So it's very, it's a necessity to have this if you're from outside of Europe. All right. We also insurance. So let's say you just bought your new house. It's also beneficial to get a home content insurance if you're renting, or a home insurance if you own the building. It means you're insured of theft, of fire, of all kinds of things. If you break something in the house, there's optional insurances to, if you drop your phone often, you can also insure it for that, or your laptop. So there's many different kinds of insurances. A health insurance is also necessary if you live here, and a liability insurance optional, but always good to have if you create damage to someone else. Keep in mind, these insurances are not that expensive. A liability insurance is maybe €5 to €10 per month. A home content is also maybe €5 to €15 per month if you get the all risk one. Health insurance is mandatory. This is about €120 to €135 per month. It's quite expensive, but you're covered for all the health situations. So if you go to the doctor and all those kind of things, there's optional extra insurances if you're interested in it. We can always insure your pets, and insure some additional things like your car, your bicycle, for theft. So in Amsterdam, a lot of bikes get stolen. So if you plan to drive your bike or a scooter, make sure you get a theft insurance as well, because the chances are it might get stolen here. All right. Yes, Thomas, I give the word back to you.
Thomas, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself? Yes.
Oh, yes, of course. So the next slide is about the promises that we have from Utility Direct. We understand that it's a lot of information. There's almost 5 types of utilities to arrange and multiple services to think of. Not even starting about all the different costs, contracts, and everything is in Dutch. So we understand that it's a big hassle. That's why we created one simple one-stop shop, as we like to call it, where we have a simple application process. You just tell us which services you want to make use of. We have a phone call always with every client. We have free utility advice. We take about 20 to 30 minutes on a call. We explain you everything. We answer all the questions that you might have, and we select the best deal. And that's the most important part of our business. We are the only independent relocation company doing this. So we work with all the providers in the Netherlands in terms of electricity, gas, internet, mobile, and we help you scout for the best deals. So that's also what we promise, always the best prices. We have a flexible working method, meaning we also help you when you leave the country or when you switch homes, or like Jesse said, at the end of the Ziggo agreement, we help you to switch to a new provider as you will get a better deal after 12 months. We only work with reputable brands. Last year, a lot of the providers went bankrupt, so we also look at the solvability ratios nowadays. It's a very crazy time, so we have to be a little bit careful, especially with the crisis going on and the ongoing wars as well. Like I said, it's a very simple application, and we arrange all the services within 24 hours. Also, we understand that it's very important to make an impact, especially because we're in the utility sector. So we believe that together we can have this positive impact on the world. And that's why we plant a tree for every utility direct customer in collaboration with Tree Nation. You can also look up our forest. We planted over 3,000 trees already, and we have made a severe impact with 271 tons of CO2 saved. This is equivalent to 15,000 trips from Amsterdam to Tokyo. So that's pretty much of an impact. And then also we saved 3.25 hectares of forest. Our services get a review of 4.8. We are very happy to assist you. So for the next slide, we want to thank you and share our contact details. If you want to get in touch, please reach out. We're happy to help.